Welcome to this session about how to build a thriving law practice. Today we'll discuss how to create a practice that's highly profitable and super easy to manage. The title of this talk is sort of weak, considering the massive impact of what I'm about to share. The title of the talk should actually be How to Make Twice as Much Money While Working Half as Hard so you can spend less time with clients and more time goofing off. Because I guarantee that's what will happen if you follow the process that I'm about to discuss. Yes, I know that's a bold claim, and I know some of you are probably skeptical, but I'll prove my case if you can be patient enough to let me explain. But first, let me offer a caveat. What I'm about to share will apply mostly to small firms, although it will also be useful to folks in larger firms too, especially those considering making the jump to a solo or small firm practice. Small firms can be great places to practice law, but there are challenges, as most of you know. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics has data about the survival rate of small businesses, and that information is sobering. About 50% of small businesses fail within 5 years, and the number that survive after 10 years is about 30%. Law firms are businesses, and we should run them in a business-like fashion. But the fact remains that most solo and small firm practices struggle both from a profit-generating aspect and from an operations aspect. Today's talk is about how you can create a practice that doesn't merely survive, but instead thrives. A practice that's profitable and manageable. But before we dive into how that's possible, let me introduce myself. I'm Ernie Svensson, an attorney in New Orleans, Louisiana. And yes, I know that people who've never been to New Orleans think that all we do is eat, drink, and party. But here's a fact. A lot of us also work, and work really hard. For the first 18 years after I graduated from law school, that's exactly what I did. I worked for a big downtown law firm in a tall, fancy building. Here's how that happened. I graduated at the top of my class and then spent 2 years clerking for a respected federal trial judge. That got me in with the prestigious firm, where I was well paid and helped by well-paid staff. The firm provided us with every imaginable resource, including a fully stocked kitchen with free sodas and popcorn. After a few years, I became partner. And of course, that was supposed to be the pinnacle of success, but that's the romanticized made-for-TV version and not completely true. In reality, I was totally burned out after about 10 years. That's when clients started getting scarcer and pickier about their bills. Overhead kept going up, so everyone had to work harder to make less. So this was a crisis, and the firm brought in a national consulting agency. They spent weeks interviewing people and walking around, just like in the movie Office Space. Eventually, they produced a fat report with a lot of fancy charts. It made some recommendations. Everyone believed the report would give us the map for recreating our once thriving practice. We all waited eagerly to see what the first move would be. A week later, the management committee announced that the free sodas and popcorn were being discontinued, along with staff bonuses. That's when I knew it was time to leave. But I didn't know how to start my own firm, and so I was trapped in a building with no way out, other than to jump, that is. But then, miraculously, I uncovered the secret to creating a thriving practice. Against all odds, I figured out how to work less and earn more. I did this as a solo lawyer working on the same sophisticated commercial litigation cases that I handled when I was at the big firm. But I kept things lean by using technology to replace expensive staff and to avoid getting locked into high overhead office space. That meant I could work as much as I wanted to and when I wanted to. And I got new cases without even trying, which was shocking because I always hated networking or anything related to sales. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But even cooler was showing other lawyers how they could do the same thing, which is what I started doing. For the past 12 years, I've helped hundreds of lawyers improve their practices using the same elusive secret that I used. I've been able to help them in a number of ways. First, I've spoken at dozens of legal conferences around the country, many of them sponsored by the American Bar Association. And I've been invited to speak at State Bar Association events around the country as well. I've also written books. 2 were published by the ABA, and 2 I published myself, because that's what technology allows you to do now, right? Take control of your own destiny. I also started a bunch of websites, 2 of which are especially helpful to small firm lawyers. Basically, my message is this. Anyone can have a thriving, easy-to-manage practice like mine, and you don't need to have any special technology skills other than the ability to do email and surf the web. Would you like to learn how to make this happen? Great, let's get started. Oh, one thing I should make clear. I don't think that every new gizmo, gadget, or science fiction trend is going to help you practice law. I know that some tech-savvy lawyers love to geek out imagining robot lawyers, flying cars, and practicing law on the moon, but that's not me. Today we're going to focus on how you can leverage technology in sensible ways to improve your practice and to make it easier to manage. Does that sound okay? Okay, basically there are 3 phases that you need to go through to make this happen. First, you simplify, eliminate clutter, and slash overhead. Also, you start digitizing paper, which lets you find critical information in seconds, anytime, anywhere. That's how you make your practice run much smoother. And best of all, shedding paper sets you up for automating key workflows. This is where you get exponential increases in efficiency and exponential cost savings. Want to create a few documents with a few clicks and 0 errors? How about getting great new clients in a predictable, steady stream, even when you're busy, even when you're playing golf? Well, that's what automation can do for you, if you go about it in the right way. Finally, you harness outsourcing because not everything can be automated, but pretty much everything can be delegated. And the talent pool of people to delegate to has never been bigger nor more easily accessible. Once you know the secrets of hiring virtual assistants, you can find smart, eager helpers with just a few keyboard taps. So that's a quick overview of the 3 phases. Now, let's drill down. Let's discuss the 12 steps to improving your practice by using technology. First, let's acknowledge that technology is a challenge for most lawyers. But the number one reason they struggle is this: they don't approach technology in the right way. If you're frustrated by technology, then the root of the problem is almost certainly how you're approaching it. Most lawyers are haphazard in their approach. They might attend a CLE seminar or 2, they'll ask 1 or 2 of their tech-savvy lawyer friends for some suggestions or guidance, and they'll hire the first IT person they come across that sounds knowledgeable. That is not the optimal approach. This is the path that often leads to frustration and failure. If you want to harness the power of technology, then you need a roadmap. You need a systematic approach for assessing the best options and then implementing them. In short, you need to become more strategic about using technology and less haphazard. Having a solid roadmap is crucial. Now, you can create that roadmap yourself, but it takes time and you'll probably make unnecessary mistakes. Fortunately, you don't have to come up with a roadmap on your own, and I'll talk about how to do that later on. But for now, just realize you need a good roadmap. That's step number 2. Okay, number 3, you need to be systematic about running your practice. Now, this is true even without considering technology, but it's even more crucial when you use technology to power your practice. So what exactly does it mean to be systematic? It means that we examine workflows, refine them, and then document the best practices. How do you examine workflows? Well, consider the if this, then that process involved in most of your office processes. When one thing happens, what's supposed to happen next? For example, if a prospective client calls the office and the receptionist answers the phone, what is she supposed to do next? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Here are some traditional office tasks that most of you probably have systems for. Unfortunately, most of us have loosey-goosey systems, and that means that we generally do things the same way, but there's a variation in how one staff member does it and then how another does it. So documenting your workflows is the solution to this problem. The problem of chaotic variability in workflows is even greater when the workflows are invisible. And that's what digital workflows are like. You can't see a disorganized pile of paper inside a computer. It's just quietly, unobtrusively there and starting to build up a disaster. Now, you don't need to feel bad about not having systems for your computerized workflows because none of us were prepared for this digital revolution, right? It just sort of happened. But now that you know you need to document your law practice workflows, the question is begged, what's the best place to learn about this? This is a great book about the systems that small businesses need to develop. If every small business owner read this book and implemented the systems that Michael Gerber prescribes, none of them would fail and most of them would thrive. Unfortunately, this book wasn't written for lawyers, but here's a book that was written by a lawyer that you can use as a more tailored model. John Fisher is a New York personal injury attorney with a solo practice. He handles complex cases and he makes a lot of money. But his practice is easy to manage because he uses systems. And more importantly, he documents them. In fact, this book is basically his documentation. It's a detailed blueprint of the systems he uses in his day-to-day practice. And he gives it to every new person that works for him so that they know what they need to do without him having to repeatedly coach them. Fisher uses automation and outsourcing to the max. He has only one full-time employee. But things run smoothly without him having to pay much attention because he has documented office systems. Number 4 is the biggest area that leads to failure for most small firm lawyers. They believe that for some reason, they're supposed to know more about technology than they actually need to. So they fool with all the technology issues themselves. Or, just as bad, they get help from the wrong people. To leverage digital technology in your practice, you'll need help. But from whom? You need advice from someone who is, number 1, appropriately knowledgeable, meaning has experience with legal technology. 2, is trustworthy, meaning that they have a fiduciary mindset as opposed to a transactional or opportunistic one. And 3, they are strategically focused, in other words, not themselves haphazardly implementing things. So big warning, do not use someone who is tech savvy but not experienced in helping lawyers. Also, do not use your tech savvy friend regardless of whether he's a lawyer or not. Just because you know him, just because they're a nice guy or gal, doesn't mean they're going to be able to help you. The problem with your tech savvy friend is that they'll mislead you when it comes to assessing trade-offs in dealing with technology. And all strategic decisions with regards to technology involve assessing trade-offs. Your friend probably has limited experience with this. More likely, she's good at chasing shiny tech objects, which is the opposite of the strategic consideration that you need. So who can help you with the assessing of trade-offs? Technology consultants can. Specifically, tech consultants that specialize in working with lawyers. This is because they work with all kinds of different software. They focus on the software designed for lawyers, and they recommend that when it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't, and the honest consultants will tell you that, and save you a lot of money. This is what I mean by a fiduciary mindset. They make good recommendations even though they might lose a sale because they want to make you happy and they figure you'll come back later and hire them. So those are the consultants that I know, like, trust, and recommend. So far, we've been talking about the important preliminaries in leveraging technology. You understand you need to have the right mindset and to approach things systematically. You'll need help and you need to get it from the right people. And we'll be talking about the right roadmap a bit more later on. So step number 4 is find the right people to help you manage your technology in sensible ways. Number 5, digitize. If you want to streamline your practice and reduce clutter and chaos, you need to stop managing information in paper form. Digital information is cheaper to store, easier to transmit, and can be automated more easily. Digitizing paper is about more than just scanning. Because when you shift to a paperless practice, you'll need to make sure you have solid systems for managing that digital information. Now, you probably already have some systems in place for your word processing files and maybe for email. But you need to get more strategic and more systematic when you shed paper. Which, by the way, doesn't mean that you'll never deal with paper again. Rather, just that you're dealing with a lot less of it. And that your main information managing system is digitally based as opposed to paper-based. To learn more about creating a paperless practice, you can go to the paperlesschase.com website and sign up for the free one-page guide to going paperless. And if you do, I'll follow up with a free 10-part email course that will walk you through everything. It'll explain what scanner to get, how to organize digital documents, what documents you need to keep in paper form, etc. One of the most common questions lawyers often have is, what format should I scan my papers to? And the answer is the PDF format. From now on, just think of PDFs as digital paper. As you probably know, e-filing is now mandatory in every federal court. And e-filing is increasingly being adopted in state courts as well. The original documents filed in the record are no longer paper documents. They're PDF files. So PDFs are the format to use when you're digitizing and organizing your paper. There's a lot to learn about PDFs, and the more you learn, the smoother you'll make the transition to a paperless practice. Plus, you'll feel more comfortable not having the paper version of the document once you know how to effectively work with PDFs. These are the 2 books I've written on the topic of improving PDF skills. They're written specifically for lawyers. The first book is an ebook in PDF format, which makes it easy to learn the PDF skills you need to learn on your computer simply by reading it. The book covers the use of PDFs on Mac computers and on Windows. The Adobe Acrobat book is available through the ABA website or from Amazon, and I recommend you pick it up from Amazon. It's for advanced skills and it costs about $50. although sometimes it's a little cheaper on Amazon, and that's why I recommend it. The basic PDF book is available from my website, and it sells for $14 and includes links to short tutorial videos. PDF skills are super important, and you'll work on improving your skills steadily over time, but these books give you a big jump start, especially the first one. As you release yourself from excessive dependency on paper, you'll want the freedom to access your key information anytime, anywhere, even when you're out of the office. And that means you need to embrace the cloud. The cloud is mysterious to some lawyers, but really it's a pretty simple concept. Basically means you can use the internet to make transferring digital files fast, simple, and easy. When you send someone an email with an attachment, you're using the cloud. But what most of us mean when we say embrace the cloud is this. You should start storing some of your information in the cloud so you don't have to ask someone back in the office to email you a file. You can use cloud services like Dropbox or Google Drive to host some or all of your digital files on their servers. Then you can access those files anytime you want from anywhere, even if you're out of the office with nothing more than your smartphone or an iPad. So think of the cloud as always, anywhere access to all of your key information. If that information is in paper form, then it's not going to be available via the cloud, and that's why we said you need to convert all of your documents to PDF. Obviously, there are a lot of important questions lawyers should ask about using the cloud, and those questions deserve answers that are well thought out and sensible. If you go to the paperlessjace.com website and click on the link on the right-hand side, you'll get those answers. Look for the sidebar that says Our Most Popular Articles, then scan down and click on the link that says Cloud Storage for Lawyers Demystified. That article will answer most of your questions about using the cloud in your law practice. Okay, number 8, automation. As we've been saying, the real power of modern digital technology comes from automation. We know that digital automation can be used to turn on lights at a certain time or to send us reminders, but it can also be used for many other things that we can't even imagine. For example, digital automation can be used to attract clients via the web, and then automatically send emails to get those folks to trust you quickly and easily. Crazy, right? Of course, this is sophisticated automation and not intro-level stuff. You probably need to focus first on getting proficient at digital automation using things that are more easily within your reach. Focus on automation that involves common office work. That's the low-hanging fruit, and that will help you develop an understanding of how to automate more complex tasks. The most common office tasks for lawyers involves generating documents, pleadings, contracts, affidavits, email correspondence, and routine forms. Much of those text-generating workflows can be automated. The key is determining which of those workflows should be automated, and among those, which should be automated first. Baron Henley is a lawyer and a legal technology consultant who came up with this matrix, which he talks about in a podcast on lawyerist.com. Basically, he says, look at the documents that are hard to create, and also look at the ones that you create often. Anything that you're creating often and that's hard to create, you should automate as soon as possible. The ones that you should automate next would be either the ones that are hard to create but you don't create that often, or the ones that create often but that aren't that easy to create. So that's kind of his matrix. Now he says that the ones that you rarely create and that are super easy to create, you shouldn't automate, but that's not exactly true, because if you use something like digital text recognition software, that can be applied to things that you don't create that often. So things like email correspondence can be automated in the sense of eliminating the need for typing by using a keyboard. Now, many of us are familiar with text recognition software, such as Dragon Naturally Speaking, and there's a Mac version called Dragon for Mac. A few years ago, this kind of software was challenging to learn, and it required high-performance computers. Now, the software works really well with any kind of computer, even basic laptops. The Windows version sells for about $70, and the Mac version costs about twice that amount, but the software is worth every penny of whatever it costs. The learning curve is very short now, about 10 minutes to get it set up, but you'll have to keep learning, and the best way to do that is to set up a daily routine where you use the software about 30 minutes a day for the first few weeks. So I recommend that you use it to respond to your daily batch of email, or at least most of it. If you buy the software and practice using it for about 30 minutes a day, in a month you'll see exponential productivity gains, and that in turn will allow you to unlock all kinds of other important software automation. So dictation software is sort of a gateway drug, if you will, into the world of digital automation. It's inexpensive, easy to set up and learn, and it will teach you how to do more than just dictate words quickly. So if you want to take your law firm automation to the next level, this is your first ticket. Now, the more we rely on digital automation and information, the more we need to pay attention to how to keep it secure. Part of security is making sure that the data isn't inadvertently deleted or somehow lost. Another part is protecting our data against interception by bad guys, also known as hackers. And certain practice areas are more prone to attacks by hackers, but the most common attacks affect every kind of law firm. I have a whole hour-long talk about this because it's obviously super important for every lawyer to understand this. And unfortunately, there are a lot of misconceptions and misinformation related to security, some of it perpetuated by consultants who make money off of selling security services. And they find it easier to sell their services when people are confused or scared. But here's the main thing to be aware of. Hackers are dangerous for two reasons. Number one, they've automated their most common attacks. And number two, they use very effective psychological manipulation to gain entry into your computer. And they've automated the psychological manipulation too. So once you understand how they use psychology, you'll be able to prevent 80% of the most common attacks, even when the hackers come up with new variations, as, of course, they are constantly doing. Step number 10. This is really important in growing your practice, and that is mobile lawyering. Mobile lawyering is a fancy term for practicing law without constantly being tethered to a desk in your office. Embracing the cloud, which we mentioned earlier, is what makes this possible. So there's no longer any need to remain constantly tethered to your office, unless that's the best place to get your work done. Sometimes we have to work away from the office because it's inconvenient to drive into the office. Sometimes we find ourselves stuck in clients' offices or in another lawyer's conference room. Instead of twiddling our thumbs, we can open up our smartphone or our laptop and bang out emails that need to be answered. There are lots of different kinds of work you can do when you have anywhere, always access to your files. If you're in court, you might need to research a case your opponent just miscited, or pull up a bunch of documents that contradict their assertion. When you have always anywhere access to information, which of course we now do, then you can do that. And this is also part of mobile lawyering. The amount of work you can do with just a smartphone, a laptop, and an internet connection is amazing. So step number 10 is learning to leverage the power of mobile lawyering to get work done and make your life easier at the same time. Ideally, you should only be doing the things that require a law license to do. Everything else should be automated or delegated. And a lot of what you should delegate can be outsourced to people who either work part-time or full-time. Hiring assistants who can work virtually using cloud tools is the way to go. If you have solid systems that you've documented, then handing work off to virtual assistants is a piece of cake. Here's a great book that will give you the full scoop on how to use virtual assistants to grow your practice smoothly and steadily. It's not focused on law though, so that's the only downside. Still, I highly recommend it. Last, we come to number 12, which is about marketing your practice online. This is the thing that will have the greatest long-term payoff. If you do this right, your practice will be easily 2 times or 3 times more profitable, but without any increase in workload. The internet is where all the gold is, and you need to learn to mine it. Increasingly, people are looking to the internet when they need to hire a lawyer. In 2014, about 38% of the people looking for a lawyer used the internet as part of their search process, or as part of their evaluation process, because remember, people also use the internet for research. Having a website is crucial for lawyers today, and it will be even more crucial each day going forward. According to a recent study by Google, in 2016, the number of people looking for legal services who used Google search was 63%. So that's up 25% in 2 years. So that gives you some idea of how powerful this trend is. So how do you attract potential clients who are using the internet to search for legal services? A lot of lawyers get hoodwinked into thinking that the only thing they need to do is optimize their site for search traffic. This is a short-sighted strategy that's also super expensive and has a short shelf life. In other words, the SEO specialist will convince you that they can drive traffic to your site like a modern-day cowboy. And then magically, they imply, you'll get lots of new business simply because people show up on your webpage. This is expensive to do, and it doesn't work because it fails to consider something important about the process of getting clients, namely trust. Potential clients will not trust you unless they feel like they know you, and they feel like they have some sense of how you will help them. That means your website needs to not only establish that you know your stuff, but also that you care about your clients. There's an old saying that says, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Your website needs to show that you care about people or they won't trust you no matter how much they believe you know. So what should you learn in order to do proper online marketing? Basically, you should learn something called direct response marketing. This is what worked best for me and for millions of other small businesses. Unfortunately, most small business owners never learn this method. That's unfortunate because it's truly the way that your business can start thriving. This method also works great if you feel guilty about trying to sell people on your services, or if you're an introvert who doesn't like to network at events like me. So this is a little known fact. I once took a job selling encyclopedias door to door. That was one summer in college. And I love encyclopedias and I believe strongly in the power of learning, but I hated selling those encyclopedias and I only sold one set in 6 weeks. Oh, and by the way, that set that I sold was canceled the day after I talked to the customer. So basically, I sold nothing. I also hated trying to get clients when I was a partner in the big law firm. Supposedly, that was part of my job, but I hated it. So I only got a few clients. In other words, I was the opposite of a rainmaker. When I quit practicing law 2 years ago to start my online business, I discovered that I had to learn about sales and marketing. Direct response marketing was the key to my incredible success. So now I'm a lot better at selling than I thought I was. And I don't mind doing it because, number one, it's tasteful and not pushy in any way. 2, it will easily double or triple your revenue. But best of all, when you combine it with a website and some other online tactics, you can automate the process so it's basically a set and forget process. Direct response marketing has been in existence way before the internet, by the way, but weirdly, not enough businesses discover it. Get this book and you'll understand how it works and how it works even for lawyers. So that's it. Those are the steps you should follow if you want to set up your practice to take advantage of today's technology. You need to proceed systematically and strategically, and you need to get help from the right people, preferably folks who specialize in helping lawyers. There's a lot you can learn on your own, but you need to be aware of the shiny object syndrome. Focus only on the things that will truly help you leverage technology. Avoid people who give only hodgepodge advice. Now, this can happen even with websites that seemingly focus on helping small firm lawyers figure out how to use technology better. Here's an example. It's a post about artificial intelligence and the future of law. Is this post going to help you improve your bottom line, or is it just a shiny object? Don't waste time on posts like this. Don't forget to check out legal podcasts too. There's some really good ones out there. But of course, even some of the good ones sometimes drift into shiny object land. Email newsletters can be good, but same thing. Be careful about wasting time on useless information like flying cars, internet balloons, or brewing your own beer. The internet has a ton of great information, but it's not organized for your benefit. And as a solo or small firm lawyer, your resources are limited, and the most limited resource you have is time, so you need to use it wisely. Otherwise, your small firm practice will end up becoming an unfortunate statistic. Competition for clients is getting more brutal every day, and you're fighting against forces that can easily derail you. And technology can, first of all, help your practice survive and avoid disaster, but your goal is obviously not just to survive, but to thrive. And that's the real benefit of technology. But the key to making it happen is that you need a roadmap, a solid roadmap for how best to take advantage of technology. Now, I've given you a basic roadmap, and I believe it will be helpful to your practice. No doubt some of you want a more detailed roadmap. Now, if you want more guidance, I have good news. I recently created an online course specifically designed for solo and small firm lawyers who want to improve their practices with technology. The course is called Law Firm Autopilot, and it's a step-by-step guide on how to harness technology to improve your practice. As I said, it's geared specifically to solo lawyers and lawyers in small firms. Well, some lawyers who joined were in big firms, but they wanted to go out on their own, so it's helpful for anyone like that too. The course is divided into 12 modules that correspond to the 12 steps I've been talking about. But the course goes into much greater detail regarding how to move through each of those 12 steps. There are over 50 lessons, most of which are videos, where I show you exactly what to do and how to do it. Basically, it's like you're looking over my shoulder and watching me see exactly how I do things. Then you can use your computer to do the same thing and get the same results that I got. Those 50 plus lessons are grouped according to those 12 modules. Oh, and there's a 13th module called Special Topics for lessons that don't fit into the 12 categories. Included there are lessons about using Macs in law practice, software for managing litigation cases, practice management software, digital note-taking, and more. And more lessons will be added in the future. Everyone gets lifetime access to the course, so it's really more like a membership in a club. The course allows you to learn at your own pace, according to your own schedule, so it's super convenient. I taught most of the lessons there, but I also included lessons from nationally recognized tech consultants who are also great at explaining technology in an easy-to-understand way. The course also includes live webinars from time to time, which is a great way for people to ask questions about the things they've learned in the lessons or things that we haven't specifically covered. The webinars are recorded and made part of the course, including the Q&A sessions so you can hear what other lawyers are talking about. Also, you'll get help in figuring out what software to buy from fellow lawyers who have evaluated it or used it, or from technology consultants who work with it every day. Now, how does that happen? Well, we have a private Facebook group that's only accessible by our members and the course instructors. So here's an example with a question by Mickey Young back in July of 2016. He asked the Facebook group, has anyone used ActionStep, which is a practice management software? And as you can see in the bottom right, his question was seen by 87 people, which means that's how many actually looked at his post. Then he got replies from fellow attorneys in the form of comments, and here are a few. As you can see, people are chiming in with information that helps Mickey zero in on a useful answer that's specific to his question. The Facebook group is also where you can let fellow lawyers learn about your practice, as Sherry Schultz did when she started her solo practice. You'll be able to go in here and network with other lawyers who can help you build your practice, both by offering support and by providing valuable referrals. All of this is part of the course, and it's why people who have joined the course have been so enthusiastic. Here are just some of the glowing comments we've gotten from the 170 lawyers who are now part of the community. But while these glowing comments are great, there's something even better, and that is the amazing results that lawyers have gotten. Lawyers like Patrick and Zena Slaughter, who have a small firm practice in Knoxville, Tennessee. They recently posted something on the private Facebook page about their life-changing experiment. Their practice had had its best month ever, which was nice, but they were getting burned out, so they decided to go to Disney World and try a, quote, working vacation. They booked for 10 days, brought their laptops to see what would happen. Well, the experiment was a big success. They were able to do a few hours work in the morning and then spend the rest of the day having fun and goofing around at Disney. This was possible because they learned to create a paperless practice and have all their information accessible via the cloud. But here's my favorite part. They returned client phone calls in a way that looked like they were calling from the office, not to deceive the clients about where they were, but so that the clients didn't get their cell phone number. Now, I don't know why the clients need to know where they were, frankly. As long as the work gets done, what difference does it make where they were? And obviously the work was getting done. They even ran bills while they were there, and it took less than an hour. Can you imagine having a practice like this? Patrick and Zena are now looking at renting an apartment in Florida and getting away at least once a month. Imagine if you could do that. Well, you can if, as Patrick points out, you just invest in the right tools and take the time to set your practice up to take advantage of today's technology. So how do you learn to do that? Simple. Do what Patrick and Zena did. If you want to start the online course, you can now for free. Go to Small Firm Bootcamp and you can sign up there. Just click one of the red buttons that says free course, or you can use your smartphone to sign up. Just text the word ModFirm to the number 33444. The word ModFirm has no spaces, so don't let your smartphone be too smart and try to add an extra space. If you text to that number, you can get into the free course and then automatically get added to the waiting list to register for the full course the next time that it becomes available. So that's it. I hope you found this video useful in helping you learn how to streamline your practice to make it more profitable and easier to manage. And I look forward to continuing to help you in that journey.